everyone, welcome to our channel, Rebecca, Stu, and the crew. I'm Rebecca, and today we have a Dollar Tree Valentine's Day DIY that we will be making. But first, I wanted to thank everyone that wished my daughter good luck at her competition 2 weeks ago out of the country. We had a really nice time. She did really well. She has a small tear in her hamstring, so she didn't place, but I'm so proud of her. She was in a lot of pain, but she still stuck it out and was able to compete in all 4 events. I'm sorry the video schedule did not return to normal when we came back. We had a water line broke under our foundation of the house, which we didn't know about, and flooded. And we have the walls and everything still drying and tearing out the floor. It's just a whole mess. So now we'll go over the supplies for this week's DIY. We're going to use a 12-inch wood circle, some black glitter vinyl. You can use really any color you like. Dollar Tree has lots of options. We'll use the foam roses, or you can use the foam dried roses. They're still made out of foam. They just look like dried roses. They have them in pink, ivory, and pale yellow. Some small baby's breath or flowers that you can cut up to fill in spaces. Some lamb's ear. We're also going to use the love or home sign from Dollar Tree. Some wired ribbon of your choice. And a laser cut icon. You could use either flowers or hearts would work well. Some sandpaper or an emery board. We'll be making some LED pillar candles with some twine, a ruler, scissors, pencil, and paper. We're also going to be using some paint and a paintbrush. And then optional Mod Podge and glitter, some hot glue, and some Dollar Tree mirrors, which is also optional. And I'll need some clear contact paper or transfer tape. So let's get crafty. The first thing we're going to do is remove that hanger. If you're going to use it, again, keep it. I'm not going to use it, so I just tossed it aside. So now we're going to measure find the very center of this large wood circle. It's 12 inches. So it was a little hair shy, a little bit shy of 12 inches actually. So I had to kind of, measure it there. So it's not quite at 6 inches right in the center. But then taking our sign from Dollar Tree, it's barely glued into that holder, so you can kind of wiggle it back and forth and it comes right out. Then use the very center of the letter E as your center guide to figure out where you want to place this on the large wood circle. Then I'm just measuring with my ruler from the top of the letter to the top of the sign and the bottom of the letter to the bottom of the sign to make sure it's the same distance before I mark where this will be placed permanently. Once I have it marked with the pencil, I'm just going to take my ruler and draw the line straight across, kind of dark so I'll be able to see it even if a little bit of paint gets on it. So then I take the love sign and I check just to make sure that I have it measured correctly. And don't forget your holes at the top for the hanger if you're going to use that. So then I drew the circle on a piece of paper. I kind of measured it the same, finding the center, and then I cut the center out, and I can use the top and bottom pieces of paper as a template. And I'll use that to cut out my vinyl paper. So this paper kept wanting to roll up, so it's a little bit hard to use the template. So I'm just taking the wood circle and tracing around it with my pencil. Once I have it traced, I'm just going to go ahead and cut out this circle with a pair of scissors. It still wanted to roll up a little bit when I was done, but it just made it easier to work with to take a lot of the bulk off of the circle here. So then we just take the glitter circle and we'll fold it in half. Now, of course, this is still going to be too big. We're going to have to cut off the excess, but we're just going to cut this in half right now. So we have the top and bottom for the sign. And then you'll lay that down on the table, take your template, lay that on top. And once you have it lined up, just draw a straight line along the bottom edge and cut off the excess. And you'll want to do the exact same thing with the other half circle. And then you can keep that extra vinyl. There's lots of things you can use that for in other crafts. So I just checked the measurement again, and then we'll set that vinyl aside while we start working on the middle of the sign. In the middle of the sign, we're just going to use some white paint. I did do 2 coats of paint and made sure it was dry all the way before I put any vinyl or anything on the wood sign. But you do want to make sure that you can still see those pencil marks at the top and the bottom. That's going to help you line up your vinyl. So once the sign's all dry, I'm going to take this clear contact paper and we'll peel it off of the backing. And then what you're going to do is use this like a transfer tape. So you'll take your glitter vinyl and lay it down with the glitter side down. Once you have it stuck to the contact paper, you're just going to remove the backing off of the glitter paper. And this is going to help you transfer this half circle onto your sign a little bit easier with some more space to work with, and just helps you overall to line it up and put it on straight. Now, if your contact paper is really sticky, you might want to touch it a few times with your hand before you stick the glitter vinyl paper to it, so it doesn't get so stuck that you can't remove it. So once we have it lined up, we just start at the top and slowly work our way towards the edges and the bottom to smooth it out, and then pull that clear paper off, and we've got our half circle attached. Then I just took an emery board and sand the sides. It's a really thin vinyl from Dollar Tree, so you can sand off those little edges really easily this way. Then I mark again where I want my love sign to be, just with a few tiny dots, just so that when I have the glue on, I can line it up quickly. And then I attach the hot glue to the back, line it up with the little dots, and attach the love sign to the larger circle. Those dots really help to make sure that the love sign was right in the center. Once we have that all glued on, you'll want to poke your little holes at the top if you're going to reuse that hanger. I'm not, so I'm just going to leave mine the way it is. And then taking one of those small pink flowers, I'm going to glue that right to the center of the letter O. There was a wire on the flower, I just cut that off. And then I'm going to take this wired ribbon to make a bow. This is about a 2-inch ribbon. I actually did purchase this at Dollar Tree right after Thanksgiving. They had these really large boxes of a whole bunch of different fall and Christmas ribbon that I've never seen before at Dollar Tree. And this was definitely a different kind of ribbon I'm used to seeing there, but I was happy to find it. So I picked up just the one roll that I found, and I just made a very simple bow, as you can see here. So we've got the 2 loops at the top, and then I do want to make 2 more loops at the bottom. So I just fold the tassels underneath and glue them together. You could just make 2 loops and then tie it around the center, but I just thought it was easier to do it this way with the glue, because I am going to add another piece of ribbon to the center that I wanted to be a little bit looser so I could tuck the flowers underneath of it. So I just thought I would glue the loops together. So then I take that small piece of ribbon and tie that around the center, but not too tight. Just kind of bunch it up in the middle and then rearrange your loops to the bow. You want to tie it on tight enough to stay together, but loose enough that you can stick some flowers down underneath of it. So then these flowers from Dollar Tree, they come 6 to a pack. So I had 2 that I took off, and then I just tucked the wire down inside of the bow. They're already twisted together, so I just left them the way that they were, and then I just wrap it around the bow. And then that helps hold the whole bow together in the middle. Then I did flip it over and put a little bit of hot glue on the back of it, just to make sure that the flowers stayed where I wanted them to be. I was pretty sure the wire would work all by itself, but just to be safe, I wanted to add a little bit of extra reassurance there with the hot glue. Then taking these 2 small pieces of lamb's ear I had left over from an old project last year, I just tuck 2 little leaves down on either side of the flowers on the bow. And we'll just add a tiny bit of hot glue to the bottom of the stem and tuck it down underneath of the flower. And you'll readjust your bow if you need to. Once you have the flowers attached, you can go ahead and attach your bow to the top. You would want to put your hanger on if you want to hang this before you put your bow on. Originally, I was going to hang it, and then I thought I could reuse the stand that the love sign was on, which is why This ended up a little bit different than I had originally planned when I first started. I'm taking one of the laser cut icons. I had this really pretty heart, and I just used the same color white paint to paint over the top of it, just with a thin coat of paint. While it was still wet, I added a very small little dot of Mod Podge to the top and just a light thin layer. And then I had some white iridescent glitter, and I just sprinkled that over the top. Now you can seal it with the Mod Podge again on top if you want to. I added such a small amount of glitter, I didn't think it was necessary. So I just let it dry, and it stuck pretty well, and I just brushed off the excess before I glued it on. So we'll let that dry, and once it's dry, we'll glue it to the very center bottom of the large sign. Now I do want to make sure that I leave enough space for the stand that the sign's going to go into, so that's why I don't go right to that bottom edge. And this is the stand that we had the love sign on that we're going to use for this sign. What I do is I put this in, and then I mark it with a pencil to make sure I have it in the middle. And then I take it back out and add hot glue to that center ridge, and then glue the sign in the middle. And I do hold it in place while it dries, but it's not necessary just because it fit perfectly in that little groove there. And then I take some more of the lamb's ear, and I start working back and forth on either side of the sign, filling in some greenery, some flowers, and a little bit of the baby's breath. Now I always go back and forth and work side to side to make sure that I have a nice even balance. I don't want one side to get so heavy with like leaves and things and then find out I got to the other side and I don't have enough. So that's why I always work back and forth from side to side. I added the pink flowers. I also added some of the white flowers to help tie in the coloring from the back of the word love. I thought that helped tie in the pink, the white all together with a little bit of the green. And again, you'll want to remove the wire off of the back of these flowers. And then depending on how they stick, you might need to hold them in place for a minute just to make sure they glue into place, because they're kind of glued at an angle and they're wide at the base. Then I fill in some more of the spaces with some lamb's ear. Once I had all the lamb's ear filled in, I thought it still looked a little bit plain. I didn't initially have the baby's breath out, and then it just looked a little plain to me, so I thought it needed a little bit more, which is why I cut up these little stems with the white flowers and started tucking it in around the roses just to help fill in the spaces, and it just made it look more complete once I had those in there. It just looked a little bit plain without it. But you could add in more greenery. You could add in some smaller flowers. It doesn't have to be baby's breath. Even ribbon would look really cute. So there's lots of different options. I used some more of the white flowers and filled in around the rose that's in the letter O. And then I also used some larger pieces to fill in some spaces on either side of the bow where the large loops are, and a couple smaller pieces right in the middle of the roses in the center of the bow. This is what the top looks like all finished. So now we're going to start working on the LED candles. So these are just those wax covered LED battery operated candles from Dollar Tree. I'm using the off-white ones, and I'm using that same ribbon I used for the sign. We're just going to attach it right to the middle of the candle with some hot glue. And I already cut this to size. So what I did is I laid the candle down on its side and then add some more hot glue to the top of the ribbon. And then pull the ribbon as tight as I can get it, making sure that I line up all the stripes on the ribbon just to help it look really nice all the way around. Now right here where the seam is at, that's going to be the back of the candle. Then I took some more of the lamb's ear and I attached that to the front of the candle. Just a little bit of hot glue right on the stem. And we'll start attaching just some natural colored twine. Now, you don't have to put hot glue on it to start. I did start the ribbon in the back. I just held it on with my hand and then started to wrap the twine around the candle a few times. Once you go over the twine once or twice where you started it at, it will hold itself on, so you don't need hot glue in the back. And then all I did was wrap it around about maybe 5 times. Then I cut off the excess, and then I add a small little dot of hot glue and then push that twine down onto the ribbon to hold it in place. Just need a little bit of hot glue to hold that together. And then we'll take another one of those dried flowers and we'll put that right in the front where the stem met together for the lamb's ear. Add some more of those little white flowers around the rose. And then I thought it needed a small leaf on the opposite side just to help balance it out a little bit. And that is what the candles look like. I added a little bit more white flowers to this side. Again, I didn't think it looked quite finished yet. And since we're making 2 candles, I wanted to point out that the candles sit on either side of the sign. So if you notice, I have the large leaves for this candle pointing towards the left, and that will sit on the left side of the sign. And then on the right side, the large leaves are pointed to the right. And that just helps to balance it out since it's to go, the whole display goes together. So this is what the top looks like with the bow and all the flowers finished. And then we've got the glitter vinyl paper at the top, the paint and the love sign with the added flowers in the middle of the love sign here. And then of course we've got our glitter vinyl paper at the bottom with the heart icon and some more flowers and greenery at the bottom attached to that original stand that the love sign came on. And then the LED candles with the ribbon, the twine, the flowers, and the lamb's ear. And then I just set that on a round Dollar Tree mirror to help give it a little bit more added detail. I absolutely love how this turns out. I'm not a real fan of decorating for Valentine's Day, but I think this is something you could keep out almost all through spring. It's really pretty. I love the way it turned out. I hope you guys do too. So here it is with the candles lit. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And tomorrow we will have the Dollar Tree video. So make sure you guys come back and check that out tomorrow. Have a great night, everyone.